No, guys, no, sorry. Philip is only here to talk about sporting matters. He's only here to talk about football. He's here to talk about tomorrow's game against St Mirren, Ibrox, 3 o'clock. And he might also answer questions on the Europa League draw today at noon in Nyon, where we were paired with Fenerbahçe in the last 16 of the Europa League, this season's Europa League. So he will not be talking about off-field matters. Can you please keep your questions on point, or he simply won't be answering them? Okay, right, fine. No worries, no worries. Philip, completely different subject then. Just if I was to say to you, Billy Bremner, Johnny Giles, no, Peter Lorimer, Don Revie, what is there a football team that you, any football club in particular, you would think, all right, okay, all right, football, okay, football stuff, right, okay, did Joe Montana, did he Joe Montana? No, right, okay, right, fine. Philip, you're going to be 51 next month, aren't you? I hope you have a lovely birthday when it comes next month. You turn 51. I hope it's a nice wee birthday. Many happy returns when it comes. But what age did that make you this time last year? See, this day last year, what age would you be? Would you be 14? Right, okay, all right, football. Right, okay. Well, Philip, see if you were to get sacked by Rangers. No. I'm not saying investors are coming in or sporting directors are going to come in and sack Philip. I'm not saying that. It's just a theoretical thing, you know. Just say in theory he lost his job. Right, okay, that's fine. So if you've lost your job and you're waiting to get another football job at another club altogether. So, aye. Well, you probably need a wee part-time job to keep you tidied over, to keep you ticking over. Maybe dog walking seems to be quite a popular thing. Dog walking. What? You need to get somebody to tether. There'll be multiple dogs you've got there. There'll be dogs, plural. But dogs. You need them tethered with something. What do you call the thing? What would you call the things that you've got them in your hand and they're attached to the dogs? What would you call it? Right, okay, right, right, okay. Philip, what's the gayest city in America? No, right, that's it, guys. Out of here. Enough's enough. We've got to talk about the football. And that's quite right. I think we should keep things lean, sharp, to the point. That's the winning combination these days, isn't it? Rangers go at themselves. They're getting rid of more of the debt. They're getting rid of the fats, aren't they? They get rid of all the players. We get rid of the Goldson and Kent. God knows where he went. We'll never see that club again. But they get rid of all the fat. They're trying to hone it down, streamlining. Some say downsize. It's streamlining more than anything else, so they're ready to be sold. They're ready to get taken over. They're ready to move to the next dimension. And a lot of the podcasters out there are going along with them. They're cashing in on that as well. You know, we'll get extra content, lots of content coming out here. We will tell you about something that happened at Ibrox after we've spent 5 minutes telling you how great our content is and how much content there's going to be. Content, money, likes, views, sponsorship. Going to just give it, and I'm going to get on board that. I'm going to cash in on that because I'm just here to exploit you guys. This is like a mental illness, and I've got to keep. It's not an emotional deficiency in me, where I've just got to keep talking to myself in my converted outhouse because I need to get it out my system. And the way you get other things out your converted outhouse. Have you seen that stool softener advert? Is it citrus flavour? Citrus? Surely it's be citrus. That'd be much more. Just a wee tip there. Citrus. Flavour there. It's a very American thing. That's keeping it on point, isn't it? The first time I saw the adverts for stool softener, it was in the States. It's really quite eye opening. Well, no, that eye that gets open, but you know what I'm saying. And I've got to take my stuff. My gold membership plan here is just full of pods where I just get to the point. I spent an hour and a half earlier this season, or was it last year, just discussing, remember the water pipe, the mains pipe that got burst along the road for Auchenhowie, and I was just, I get writing about that and how it affected the history of our club and the wider European footballing community as far as I was concerned. This week alone, I thought I was doing well. I thought I was keeping up to speed. Where Patrick Stewart came out with his 13-minute in-house video just talking about the future of the club and the in-house review by external. So I did an hour and I think it was an hour and 20. Basically, I was doing 10 minutes for every minute that Patrick Stewart had spoken. I did 10 minutes analysing it. It's too much. It's got to stop. We've got to try and break it down. And I was on Jersey earlier the night. That's bad enough. And then I had to get it out of my system that the biggest news we've had since we signed Loudrup or we signed Gaza or whatever, that kind of excitement. That I've told you the story where I was sitting. My dad must have been working out in Arran because I was sitting in his chair, and it was fish fingers were hovering on my lap. No, that was a plate there. But I had the fish finger up my mouth, the bird's eye fish finger. And it must have been Moira Stewart. Was it Moira Stewart or maybe the Jan Leeming? I can't remember. 1986 anyway. And they're like, news now about Rangers. And I'm like, right, us Rangers? Queen's Park Rangers. We're on the British news. We're on the main, the news at 6. Oh my God. Bit stunned as the fish finger hangs on the fork. You know, they've sacked Jock Wallace. Rangers have sacked Jock Wallace. I was just at the game yesterday against Spurs, the friendly. We've sacked him. What if? And then, I must have I like putting vinegar on it. It's like a cheap man's tartar sauce. And I put it on, I'd put too much vinegar maybe on it, and it starts kind of breaking off on the end of the fork. I had it right at the halfway point. I hit a whole fish finger right in the middle, and it was just starting to, it doesn't usually last that long. It's usually straight in the mouth. I'll have to worry about this kind of stuff. But it was starting to disintegrate and starting to, and they're going to replace him with player manager Graham Souness. Me too. What? Allowed to swear in front of mum. At that point, the fish finger just hits the deck, and the whole plate hit the deck. I nearly hit the deck. If I hadn't been so young, slim, and attractive, I'd probably had a massive coronary event. But it's the same kind of feeling, the potential for Rangers to have this massive investment. Despite all the potential pitfalls and the absolute certainty that it will be completely brutal and venal if it does go ahead, with zero regard for the integrity or history of Rangers beyond what they can possibly exploit. Once they've used us, they will move on. But it's amazing news. So I had to talk about that. I just had to get that out my system, my reaction to that, and I've just posted that earlier on this wee channel here. So if you go down to the video before this, you will see America. Yeah, that's my reaction to the potential take. It might not happen. The takeover might not happen. So I'm going to, my membership plan is just going to get to the point and just. So that's the way to go. You make ourselves attractive to investors. That's what Rangers are doing. Cutting off all the fats around the sides, getting rid of Ryan Kent's wages and selling him to some complete mugs in Turkey who are probably raging. And the Connor Goldson and John Lundstrom, what the losers, Alfredo, getting rid of them all. We're cutting down the operation, we're just hacking it down. So I've got to get lean and mean here as well if I want major investors to come in and take me to the next level of podcasting. And to that end, I'm going to try and go for it, folks. I'm going to try and do the half-hour pod. That's me 7 minutes in already. I've not even started it. I'm going to try. Alec, can you do us a favour and just talk about something for less than an hour and a half? Or could you maybe post a preview pod for a game that gives us a chance to watch it before kick-off? A 2 hour pod going up at 7:30 at night when the game's kicking off at 8 o'clock. It's not really giving us a chance to. Fair dues. So I'm going to try and step up my game here. See how quickly we could just batter through. This is your Fat Egg St Mirren at home preview pod and Fenerbahçe in the Europa League in Europe again reaction pod, sponsored by Gersnet. Check out Gersnet. It's myself. So it's me and Brian. Brian's sensible. There's a sensible part of there for Brian. The latest Gersnet pod. It's me and Brian previewing the St Mirren game and reacting to all the the American takeover rumour and to getting Fenerbahçe in the Europa League earlier today, if we're just pretending that today is Friday when it's actually the early hours of Saturday morning. I've got to get leaner, I've got to get faster, I've got to get fitter. Nobody's going to buy me. I'm sponsored by Gersnet, and I'm also sponsored by the Skids single behind me there, working for the Yankee dollar. From the Skids to the Yankee dollar. But Alec, you usually when you introducing yourself, usually introduce yourself by your Sunday name at one point in these pods, and then you follow up with a wee song. So I followed up, I'm Alec Anderson with working for the Yankee dollar. No, I'm not going to give Richard Jobson that kind of tribute. No, Stuart Adamson, before he went to big country, he was in the Skids, and I know he's probably a Celtic supporter. Stuart, he's feed Dunfermline, maybe a kid who only was a Dunfermline supporter, but he's one of the guys that actually supported. I don't care, the guy was a brilliant musician, but I'm not going to get involved in that, no, because my name is Alec Anderson. America, fuck yeah, coming again to save the motherfucking day, oh America, fuck yeah, freedom is the only way, yeah, just get to the point there, getting to the point. Yeah, so today, the manager had his press conference, his pre-match St Mirren press conference, Friday afternoon, Friday lunchtime, and it got pretty farcical. He managed to say that the draw today, were in neon at noon, big old Basque legend Aritz Aduriz, a top goal scorer for Athletic. 3 different spells at Athletic Bilbao, but who are hosting this year's final. He came out there and started stroking those big Basque balls and didn't do us any favours. They asked Philip Clement what he thought about that in a wee reaction. I think he might actually been trying to get under Jose Mourinho's skin. As I look back on it, I think he might actually been trying to kind of out-vibe and out-psych the special one. That was, but straight away it was into the takeover questions. What do you think is going to happen? You think you're going to get sacked? And the comms guy had to intervene. And just the press conference. Last Friday it was Philippe, why are you still here? With the hacks sitting there. And this week it was so I think the new owner's going to sack you, Philippe. I'm starting to feel sorry for the guy. We should never feel sorry for a Rangers manager. Sometimes they deserve to be felt. So sometimes they deserve our sympathy, certainly our empathy. But you want to be, if anything, almost fearing them. You always want to be respecting them. But it was difficult. He looked a bit rabbit caught in the headlights the day. Philippe was I think he is quite a kind of self-effacing fella, quite an honest guy. He maybe tries wee bits of mind games and what have you when it comes to the tactic, when it comes to football, comes to second guessing the opposition manager, or trying to make the opposition manager second guess his team. But I don't think he didn't seem to be coping too well. He was just looking a bit startled. He kept trying to deflect these questions, but there's a bloodlust amongst the Scottish press pack. Luckily, mostly today they're lusting after more news about the takeover. They just want to get something out of Philip they can use towards the biggest story in Scottish football right now. But he wasn't going to do that, because basically that's what he's been doing for 7 or 8 months, beginning of the season, which was kind of answering its own question, really, just talking about the state of the club and how much we need this investment. But he wasn't having it at all. But anyway, I'll do a wee bit for you if you like. If you ask me nicely, okay, then do you want me to talk about European club competition? I'll just do that. We have drawn, as I say, today, nigh on 12 noon. It was either going to be Fenerbahçe or Bodo Glimt that we got as a reward for getting straight through to the last 16 of the Europa League. A fantastic achievement by Philip Clement. No two ways about that. I don't really know who I wanted. It should have been Fenerbahçe that I wanted, and that's who we got, because they finished 24th. They were the last team to qualify. They were in the round that was concluded last night. If last night's Thursday night, if this isn't the early hours of Saturday morning, if this isn't just like 5 minutes before kick-off against St Mirren, then it was last night that Fenerbahçe beat Anderlecht after Fenerbahçe had finished 24th in the 36-team group, taking the very last spot by which you could qualify in any manner whatsoever. They only took it by a single goal. They conceded 1 goal less for their 10 points than Braga had conceded for their 10 points. Fenerbahçe had played 8 games, same as ourselves, in this new group stage, and I think they lost 2, they won 2, and they drew 4 of them. In 9th place, was Bodo Glimt. To be sure, this is how that works. The seeding works, but the team we basically knocked into 9th place, knocked out of the automatic qualification spots for the last 16 and put into that knockout playoff round, was Bodo Glimt of Norway. And it was goal difference by which they ended up in that spot. But so we should be preferring Fenerbahçe, but I'm not entirely convinced. I watched Bodo Glimt against 20 last night. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about Rangers being so bloody selfish and European football being so selfish. About just everybody, this conspiracy that I'm not going to see. Rangers are going to... We're going to the game in March. Obviously, it's going to be Fenerbahçe at Ibrox. That'll be this 4th, 5th, 6th. The 6th game I've seen at home. I don't have the money now. I can't be just jumping in a plane and going to see Fortuna Düsseldorf against Carlsberg Siena, because that's 2 runners-up in Cup Winners' Cup finals, 79 and 81. in the very city where Calzicino lost the Cup Winners' Cup final in 1981. I can't be doing that kind of thing anymore. I've not got the money. I've not got the time. So I've got too many Empire biscuits to eat. McGee's Empire biscuits. I can't. So I need them to come to me. I need the European finalists. I want to see every club that's ever played in a European club final, and I've got 70 odds. I've got 20 odds to go, and one of them is 20 FC 20. And apart from it, I still can't tell the difference between 20 and AZ. I still get them mixed up. It's like Crawley Town and Stevenage Borough. It's like Ghent and Genk. I still can't. I don't know enough. There's not enough muscle memory. There's not enough direct contact with them to make me remember what one's different. One of them's won one Eredivisie. The other one's won two Eredivises, and the one that won it the year before or the year after the one that won two, one of their ones. They both playing red tops. They're known in the big cities in the Netherlands. They've both been runners-up in a UEFA Cup final. Just one UEFA Cup final. That's why I want to see them. 20, I mean, I was thinking last night, mnemonics, what can I actually do to try and remember the difference? Well, there's Troy Parrott, a guy called Troy Parrott, very distinctive name. He's Irish. He plays up front for AZ. That's crazy. Oh well, guess who plays up front for 20? Ricky van Wolfswinkel. So that's not really going to help try to remember. And they were both playing last night. They were both playing at exactly the same time. And I was getting really, and so I wanted 20, and I knew 20 were a European finalist. I hadn't ticked off the list. But if they come to Ibrox, if we get them, that's one of the clubs we could have got up until full time last night. If they come to Ibrox, and I'll remember them, it'll be muscle memory. I'll remember who had scored against them. It'll help. Be a kind of mnemonic, an active mnemonic. Like 20, but more than anything else, I'll get them off the list. Sam Lammers was playing from Lager Bielka. Was playing for 20 as well. He's on loan for Celtic, and I thought, oh God, actually I shouldn't really want to play them. Because they scored first. They did an impersonation against Bodo Glimt. Did an impersonation of us against Hearts at Tynecastle. They went in at half time, winning 1-0, and they had a shot on goal, and it was an own goal from a corner that Bodo Glimt had put into their own nets. They were getting played off the park, and I thought, yeah, this is actually the way to win football matches these days, is give the opposition as much of the ball as possible. But in the second half, Bodo Glimt scored 2 goals in injury time. They scored one, and obviously they equalised. Lager Bielka giving away a penalty, was it? That was a penalty, and then they're losing 2-1 for the first leg, Bodo Glimt, and that was it. It was one each in the second leg, and they scored right 2 minutes into injury time to make it 2-1 and level the tie. And then they went up. They just straight back up the park again and scored again to make it 3-1. That was it. 4 minutes into the injury time. I think it only was 5 minutes injury time on the clock. That was it. They were now winning the tie. Was there going to be any extra time? That's a bit gutted because wanting 20 to go through. Well, they went back up the park and they scored it in like the 6th minute of the 5 minutes of injury time. The last kick of the ball. Literally, it's gone to extra time. This is fantastic. Sat and watched it for another half hour, and Bodo Glimt just scored another 2 goals because they are rapid. They are absolutely rapid. It's the end of the Norwegian. Well, the Norwegian season is a summer season. I don't mean like Blackpool Skegness, but it's a summer season that goes from March to November. So strictly speaking, they're in pre-season just now. But my God, they look sharp as anything. It's all young, locally sourced talent, frighteningly young looking players. I think there's about 3 Danes and a Swede in there, but it's all Norwegians. And in Ketil Knutsen, Bodo Glimt have the kind of Jim McLean on speed. They're talking about this is the best era in Bodo Glimt's history. It's their only era, but what an era. I know they've won like 4 titles in the 2020s, and they're getting better and better in Europe. They pumped Jose Mourinho's Roma 6-1 in the Conference League a few seasons ago, but then Jose Mourinho's Roma come back to Glimt, to Bodo, to beat Gleaming Glimt over the 2 legs. They beat them quite comfortably in, I think, the quarter-final, and of course Jose went on to win the Conference League with Roma that season. It was the same season we got to the final in Seville of the bigger tournament, the Europa League. Long story short, 20 get put out, Bodo were through, and I'm thinking, do we want these young guys that are really fat, and they just kept running, they're running so much. We're going to Rugby Park next week, but this wasn't your Desso Grassmaster they were playing on in Norway. The whole stadium holds as much as the Brim one. It's about 8,000 capacity. It's 3/4 full at best. The away end totally exposed, and the snow and the roofs and that behind. The wind chill factors to the roof. It's in the Arctic Circle, so it was going to be them or Fenerbahçe, who are totally at the other end of the middle 16 of the Europa League group stage, and that's a roasting hot part of the world. It's in Asia, basically the Asian side of the Bosphorus in Istanbul. Cavernous stadium, frightening supporters. The Bodo Glimt fans are really cute, really noisy and all that, but really funny. Apparently they carry big toothbrushes. I don't know if that's something to do with the Gleam thing. I still don't quite work out how the name works, but Gleam meaning Glimt meaning Gleam, I think, in that part of the world. But their supporters are terrifying, and their team is the opposite. No, they've not got they've certainly got a guru manager, but it's no that kind of auteur, obviously almost kind of dictatorial, running just one club. It's getting to the point where he knows it so well it can overachieve. With Mourinho, he can go anywhere, turn his hand to anything. Really experienced manager, lots of European titles. Fenerbahçe, massive club, lots of players. The players very experienced. They've got older players like Edin Dzeko, and the fella, Dusan Tadic, the fella from Ajax. Cracking players into their late 30s, and Fred from Manchester United, Amrabat, who's I think is on loan from Fiorentina just now. This is stuff I was saying on the Jersey pod earlier tonight. Sorry if you happen to see that. But what's his name? El Nasri, En Nasir. That's another Moroccan chap whose name I'm totally disrespecting right now, but he scored the winner for Morocco against Portugal in that 2022 World Cup quarter-final, the greatest moment in Morocco's footballing history, the same day that Michael Beale had his debut as Rangers manager by beaten by Leverkusen 3-0 in a friendly at Ibrox that I was at. They've got a very experienced squad, lots of very experienced players, but I don't know if that's going to make them too old. Really weird club, Fenerbahçe, in many ways. When you look at their roster, as you say, which maybe get used to saying, and you're kind of frightened. You think, look at the players they have got. These guys are absolutely terrifying, their skill levels. But they did finish bottom. They did finish 24th in a table in which we finished 8th. They beat USG 2-1 at home as well. I think another result quite similar to ours. They drew 1 each with Manchester United. That was at home though. They lost 2-0 at home to Athletic Bilbao. Drew 0-0 at home with Lyon, so that's a better result than we got at home to Lyon. They drew 1 each away to 20, 2 each away to Midtjylland. Beat Slavia Prague 2-1 in Prague and lost 3-1 at AZ. They played 20 and AZ. There's no separating the guys. But they've never won a European trophy. They've never been in a European final. It's a bit like Lyon. Lyon have never reached a European final either. They're one of those clubs you would think they had. But it's never happened for them in that respect. No, Galatasaray are the only Turkish club to get to a European final, and they won that Europa League final. It's Yanis Hadji's dad. They won the Europa League final against Arsenal. It was the UEFA Cup final as it was in 2000 in Copenhagen. So that's one Galatasaray are holding over Fenerbahçe. Fenerbahçe, they got to the quarterfinals of the 63-64 Cup Winners' Cup, and they lost in the 2012-13 Europa League semi-finals to Benfica, who then lost to Chelsea in the final, but not Chelsea managed by Rafa Benitez, something we thought we'd never see at that point in time. But they've never made an actual final. They got to last season's Conference League quarterfinals and they lost that to Olympiacos on penalties. So Fenerbahçe could have drawn Olympiacos again today. A bit of Turkey against Greece. That must have been a hell of a game last season. But it's difficult to know what Fenerbahçe are actually prioritising this season, because the league title, are they 5 or 6 points behind Galatasaray, who beat them to the title last season. Fenerbahçe lost one league game, and it's a 38-game season, the Super League, Turkish Super League, as well as just like ours, just like our domestic situation. They lost to Galatasaray. They finished second to Galatasaray, and I think there was only 3 points in it. It came down to the number of draws each side had, and Fenerbahçe had only lost one league game all season, but they sacked the manager, and they also got them to the quarterfinals of the Conference League, as I say. So that wasn't enough for them. So it's difficult to know if it's Europe they're prioritising with Jose, or if they want him to win the league, because they're currently trailing Galatasaray. But I think it's maybe 3 or 4 points. I think the exact same stage, 22, 23 games. They're 11 points ahead of the team in third place. So they're in a slightly better situation than ourselves. They're a bit closer to third than we are, but they're much closer to first place as well. I don't know what they want them to prioritise. I don't think it's all been plain sailing for Mourinho at this job. But it's exciting. It's a very exciting draw, I would say, even though I'm a bit peed off from it in terms of, I saw Fenerbahçe before. Remember, we played them in the 2001-2002 Champions League qualifiers. It really kind of one of those results that did for Dick Advocat, because we lost out over the two legs. A bit unfair, maybe, the pressure that brought on Advocat, but he just suffered his first season against Martin O'Neill the previous season. Celtic were they won the treble, didn't they? They were just basically moving into a different level from us, and it was getting to the point where it looked like Advocat's time was over, despite a treble in his first season and a double in his second. But I typically, even back then, 20 odd years ago, we had all sorts of injuries for the game. At Ibrox, was it Amo wasn't playing, Barry wasn't playing, Ronald De Boer, Claudio Reyna, they were all out. We drew 0-0 on the night. Michael Moles got sent off in the second half, and I think he's got sent off for hitting somebody. But Rustu Rekber, it's the first time I'd heard of him. The goalkeeper, the Fenerbahçe goalkeeper on the night, he came out and got involved, and I think he hit Moles, he decked Moles, but somehow got away with it. And Rekber was kind of all in black, and it was the first time I'd seen a goalie doing that thing of the kind of NFL thing, appropriately, of wearing black paint under his eyes. It's just to deflect the floodlights of the sun. It's war paint. You're just posing. But it did make him look quite striking, and he became a total, celebrity the following summer, the following summer when he was goalkeeper for the Turkey side. It finished third in the World Cup, and immediately trying to respond to that. Greece then won Euro 2004. It's unbelievable what a rivalry can do. Can push clubs and countries to unbelievable heights. But we drew 0-0 at Ibrox that night, and then we went over to the Sukru Sarakoglu Stadium, which is it's on the Asian side of the Bosphorus, and that's where the only European final it's known about is when it hosted the last UEFA Cup final. The actual tournament was still called the UEFA Cup, the last edition, which was when Shakhtar Donetsk of the Ukraine beat Werder Bremen, and that was the season after we lost the same final to a Russian side in Manchester. So that's the Fenerbahçe stage. We went to that stadium for that 2001-2002 Champions League qualifier, second leg, and we lost 2-1 on the night. The one and only Fernando Rickson getting our goal, but it wasn't enough to get us through. And we dropped into the UEFA Cup, and it was the third qualifying round of the Champions League. And I think the same night that we were drawing 0-0 at Ibrox, Celtic had won 3-1 in the Amsterdam Arena to put Ajax out, and they went into the Champions League. So again, this heaped of pressure on Advocat, who got us past. He'd already got us past Maribor in the second qualifying round, beat them home and away for the Champions League, but we dropped into the UEFA Cup, and I know I was Anzi Makachkala in that strange game in Warsaw, the one-off game against Anzi Makachkala, because we couldn't go to Dagestan. Bert Kontman beating them, then we went into Moscow Dynamo, remember, because it was 2001-2002, 40th anniversary of Barcelona. We've played Moscow Dynamo, we gubbed them home and away. Maybe that's going to mean something. Well, I don't know, we beat PSG on penalties after 2 0-0s. That was a massive result, and it was Advocat's last European game. He got us into Europe past Christmas, when that meant basically something different from what it means now, that the group stages extend past Christmas. But he got us past Christmas in Europe for the first time since that great 92-93 Champions League run, first time in nearly a decade. So it was quite significant. But then he handed over to Alec McLeish, and Ek come up against Feyenoord, and we lost narrowly to Feyenoord over the two legs, and Feyenoord went on to win the thing, the final in their home stadium, which is something could happen to us. If we beat Fenerbahçe, we're going to meet the winners of Roma against Athletic Bilbao, both of whom are European finalist clubs that I have yet to see in the flesh. So not to be a score for me, but if we were to get to the final, that would mean, if we have to get to the final this year, and I think that's thinking too far ahead, it would mean that Athletic Bilbao, the hosts, whose stadium has been used for the final, San Mamés, they wouldn't be there. So there'll be more tickets available. And we could meet Eintracht Frankfurt there on the other side of the draw. So it could potentially be a rematch, Rangers against Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League final in Spain again. Even though in Bilbao you wouldn't want to mention too much of the fact that it's in Spain. Scary Casco. Last season, Philip Clement was talking about Jose Mourinho's tattoos. Now he gets to meet the rest of them. He gets to meet the rest of them. He has to worry more about Jose Mourinho's brain now. He was talking last season when we'd drawn with Aris Limassol at home, and we all thought Clement had thrown away our chance of qualifying automatically, or even just continuing in the Europa League. Thought we might drop into the Conference League because we only had Real Betis away. That was our final fixture, and no Rangers team had ever beaten Spanish opposition in Spain before, and we would have to beat them if we were going to go through, and we did beat them. But he was talking about Jose Mourinho thought, oh, you're going to drop into the Conference League, would that be satisfactory? Well, Jose Mourinho's got a tattoo of the Conference League. He's got a tattoo of the Conference League trophy in his arm. He'd got it basically a week before we played Eintracht Frankfurt and Seville, because they'd won the Conference League, Roma, the very first Conference League final against Feyenoord, featuring Cyril Dessers, Nicolo Zaniolo, with all those O's in his name, scoring the only goal of the game for Jose's Roma, the Giallorossi, getting their first UEFA-approved European trophy, although they won the First Cup in '61. But anyway, the point was, Jose Mourinho had won all three of the European trophies as extant at that point in time. He won the Europa League, or the UEFA Cup trophy, if you like. He won that with Manchester United in 2017, and he won it with Porto in 2003. And he's been on record saying how he likes Rangers fans coming up to him and saying thanks very much for winning that UEFA Cup final in Seville in 2003 because of the opposition that Porto faced that night. He's also won the Champions League with two different clubs, Porto in 2004 and with Inter in 2010, one of only 6 men to win the European Cup or the Champions League with two different clubs. 6 managers that have done that: Pep Guardiola, Carlo Ancelotti, Ernst Happel, Otmar Hitzfeld, and Jupp Heynckes. Is that them all? Yeah. So he's some man. He's actually on the coaching staff, if not assistant manager for Barcelona. He ended up having a horrific enmity with them when he became Real Madrid manager. But he was part of the Bobby Robson's coaching staff when Barca won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1997. So he could really have all the European club trophies up there, except maybe the First Cup. But strictly speaking, there has been 4 separate competitions ever in Club Europe, and Jose has been manager for winning 3 of them and assistant manager for the other one. He could add that to his tattoos, but he'd probably have to put Barcelona pennants on it, so he's not going to bother. But Clement is now come up against him. I don't know about us. I don't know about our chances in this. As I say, I think we're a team who enjoys Europe because it's the pressure is off after the pressures of the domestic scene. There's no domestic pressure on us now, except for some kind of basic sense of respectability in a game-by-game basis. So the pressure is all on Europe. I don't know if we're going to respond to that properly. I could just talk about Jose Mourinho. I mean, Jose Mourinho has been at Ibrox before, and he lost 2-0 when he was Chelsea manager, just a couple of months before he got sacked, or before he left Abramovich's Chelsea. His first spell there was 2007, the summer of 2007, pre-season. Remember, we played Chelsea at Ibrox. Philip Sebo scored the second. We beat Chelsea 2-0. This massively prestigious pre-season final. It was a great atmosphere that day. Chelsea with Frank Lampard and all these guys. It was the great Chelsea team under Mourinho, and we beat them 2-0, and it was a great day. And it ends up we lose the Europa League final, and Chelsea going to lose the Champions League final that season after Avram Grant had taken over. So it was quite significant. 2 big powerhouses we were at that point in time, and can be again. But that's how Jose lost that day to Rangers. He's 62 years old now, Jose. Amazingly, that teams that he hasn't won. I mean, he didn't win a European trophy with Spurs, but it's quite amazing that he didn't win a European trophy in his time 2 times at Chelsea and his time at Real Madrid, when they must be the winningest European trophy teams of the 21st century, of his whole time in management. Chelsea have won everything twice. everything that existed before the Conference League, and this season they could become the first club to win all 4 European competitions that have ever existed in one form or another. They're probably outright favourites to win the Conference League. And it's quite amazing. Real Madrid just winning, just winning Champions League after Champions League after Champions League this century, but Jose manages to go there. He won La Liga. I mean, he's won La Liga. He's won the Portuguese League a couple of times. He's won the English Premier League 3 times. Oh, with Chelsea, I think he won 2 Serie A's as well. I'll be missing something out. FA Cups, League Cups. It's all in there. He's the Taça de Portugal. Everything. He's won just about everything. Didn't get to win as much as he wanted to with Roma. Eventually gets sacked there, so he could be up for getting a bit of revenge against them in the next round. With Fenerbahçe this season, last season I said they finished second in the league, so that put them straight into the Champions League qualifiers. And Jose took over in the summer, in June I think it was. He took over at Fenerbahçe. So he beat Lugano in the second round, the second qualifying round of the Champions League, but in the third qualifying round they lost to Lille of France on penalties, so that will not have helped his case, I would imagine. I don't think things are going super smoothly for the club that bought Ryan Kent from Rangers. It punted him last October, and it just never happened. I don't think Ryan Kent's got another team just now, has he? Not that we're wanting to take him off. Anyway, that's going to be in March, 6th of March and the 13th of March. 6th of March in Istanbul, 13th of March back at Ibrox. I don't know if Clermont is ready to be, because the thing I forgot to mention in the Jersnet podcast tonight is Philippe Clermont has never won a knockout match after the group stage. He's a bit like Celtic in that respect, so this would be a major step for him at a time when he needs to do it as well, if he's going to have any hope of holding on to his job at Rangers. I say he's a bit of the look today, especially as of a dead man walking. But right at the beginning of his interview, he was asked if he was excited about coming up against Mourinho, and he said, yeah, he did this whole thing of, I can't quite remember if he was the Man United manager when I come up against Man United in my previous jobs. I thought, that's a bit weird. He said it's not a personal thing for him, what manager he's up against, it's all about the teams. So he kept covering himself. But somebody, because they weren't going to get any joy out of Clermont today when it came to trying to ask him about the takeover rumours, he wasn't going to answer anything like that. He was trying his best not to get too dragged into the whole question of a sporting director either. So somebody decided to go at him, had remembered that he'd said this kind of strange thing at the beginning of the presser about Jose Mourinho, where he said it was an exciting draw. Fenerbahçe were a good team, and it was good for Hamza Egeman to be coming up against a exciting Moroccan striker. A couple of exciting Moroccan players in that Fenerbahçe team, and he doesn't know if he'd come up against Jose before. He's got a lot of respect for Jose Mourinho's achievements, but he maybe plays football in a different way from how Clermont would like to play it. So this guy's, are you saying that you basically don't like him? I mean, please say you prefer a different style of manager. It's almost like, please say you mean his personality. Please say you mean his personality. We need some copy here. We need to get some controversy here. He says, no, I prefer to attack. I prefer a style of play that focuses on attack, and he prefers to start with defence. Parking the bus and all that kind of stuff. But that's a personal preference and taste, he's saying. But I'm sure that won't get blown up. That's not going to be getting put up in the Fenerbahçe. Fenerbahçe notice board in their dressing room. But I don't know if he was actually trying to out-vibe Mourinho, trying to get Mourinho to attack. Come at us, because obviously Rangers, particularly under Clermont, really enjoy playing on the counter-attack. I think maybe against Fenerbahçe, if we can get enough publicity onto the great players that Fenerbahçe got, and the fact that Mourinho is the much more storied manager he's expected to win this tie, then it probably will suit Clermont, because he does do the business when least expected, especially if the away legs first. Just getting them back to Ibrox was still something to play for, because I could see he's getting totally mauled in both legs, but I could also see him managing to pull something off, as he usually does away from home. Philippe Clermont, it was a weird one. I mean, Mourinho is 62 now. Clermont himself is going to be 51 next month, so it's not as if he's at that stage where he's a young up-and-coming manager. And this is the moment where he knocks over an old war horse and makes his name, confirms that he's He's a new hot kind of guru manager, and on the continent. He seems a bit kind of old for that. And Mourinho, of course, age is no bar these days. I mean, Jupp Heynckes was 70s when he won the Champions League with Bayern. I think Carlo Ancelotti, he's mid-60s now, isn't he? And he went to the Everton job and come back to go to Real Madrid and start winning more Champions League than anyone else has ever won. So, it's no bar on getting more success. He lost the Europa League final with Roma in 2023. Jose lost it on penalties to Sevilla. We'd lost on penalties the previous season in Sevilla in their home ground. But no, he lost it to Sevilla in Budapest, and there was also the final penalty that was converted by Montiel, who scored the winning penalty in the World Cup final. That was retaken. He'd missed it the first time and it got retaken. And Jose, the nasty aspect. I did a lot of time for Mourinho. He's good box office. Obviously an amazing tactician. I loved it when they beat Barcelona in the Nou Camp when he was Inter manager. They went over there and just defended, and his patter afterwards, because they set the sprinklers on them at the end. It was to wash the blood off our kits. He's always got an answer. He's good value, but he's got a bit nasty at times, poking the eyes out of the late assistant manager of Barcelona, and when he was at Real Madrid, just doing everything he could to undermine Real Madrid. Real low life. So we get enough of that from politicians these days, just taking the kind of incendiary shit-stirring way of getting things, getting their own results. It's not what we want. And there was something else he did as well that I really didn't like. I just basically tried to get that referee killed. The English referee just nearly got him murdered after that. Roma lost that Europa League final to Sevilla, so he's got a real nasty edge, but he's great box office. And Rangers, the rumours on Wednesday of a massive amount of investment coming our way, and by Friday it's confirmed that Jose Mourinho is coming to Ibrox, so it's all fallen into place. Chris Jack was asking the manager today if the backup from Patrick Stewart during the week was reassuring, and Clement used that to explain how shit the early part of the season was for him, doing all the PR jobs plus his own, and he kind of batted off questions about the sporting director. I want to be involved. I won't be involved in the recruitment. He was saying it's usually sporting directors that recruit managers, but he said he'd been stopped for 7 or 8 months earlier this season because nothing could be moved. There was a lot of things still to be done at the club by all of us, as far as he was concerned, to get the club back to first place. So Patrick Stewart is helping shift the ship back in the right direction. It was just the press today were just wanting to get some sort of story about the investments potentially coming from it, and quite right, you can't really blame them for that. But I don't know what's going on with Mourinho at all. Tomorrow it is St Mirren. It's the Paisley pattern. It's a damp climate. The damp climate keeps the cotton from sticking together. It keeps the cotton good to stay. If they make it into the Paisley pattern, and the pattern this season has been the home team wins 2-1. October, we beat St Mirren 2-1 at Ibrox. Alex Gogic had given them the leads. One of the players, Alex Gogic, like Simon Murray from when he was at Ross County and Dundee, just makes you think, should we just buy him? Hamilton Accies, Hibs, now he's at St Mirren. You think, sometimes I just think, it's probably because he's bald and he looks evil. Maybe we should just buy him. He scores against us. We should have bought him, but he's an old war horse. But it was Olasanya that day running proper, ragged, and that affected proper to the point that when he had to come on, he was forced to come on in the game at Paisley on Boxing Day. Because Balogun got injured after about 19 minutes. Leon Balogun just can't last a game these days. He's not available for this game tomorrow. St Mirren were already in his head. Olasanya was already in his head. It didn't help. And although we came out in the second half, Danilo equalised for us. We brought on Danilo and Raskin at half time in that game at Paisley and Boxing Day. I think that there was questions about the manager's team selection. It was enough. St Mirren ended up scoring a winner in injury time. It was an absolute sickener in Paisley. They're sixth, and everybody we play seems to be sixth in the table, 6th or 7th, 6th. They're always in the middle of the table. It's like, they're almost as close to the relegation playoff spot as they are to third place. It's that seems to be permanent. Everybody we play. It's so tight amongst all the clubs below us in the SPFL Premiership. But St Mirren are just in the top half or sixth. They are quite a few goals behind, 3 points and quite a few goals behind Hibs, who are at home to Celtic. Is it home to Celtic? Away to Celtic? I think it's home to Celtic. I think it's Easter Road, isn't it? In the half-12 kick-off tomorrow. So if Celtic were to drop something in that really puts pressure on Rangers to get a few points, to saving face maybe, but they should always be trying to catch Celtic in any way they can, get it down to a single figures in terms of the points difference between us and first place. But they're also St Mirren are only one goal difference in front of Kilmarnock in seventh. Kilmarnock, who we play during the week. Excuse me. It's the first home game for Rangers since the last time we faced a kind of famous West of Scotland football club who play in black and white and famously have won the Scottish Cup more than twice but have never been champions of Scotland. And it's quite interesting that all this stuff has happened. I mean, we had the game at Tynecastle, which seemed to convince nobody that Rangers were getting any better. I think we're just basically in the huff with the team, as we should be after that horrific cup exit to Queen's Park. But it would definitely take something like strong rumours of a major takeover, a major cash injection that could revolutionise the club to inject any kind of sense of positivity in lieu of European progress, which couldn't happen between the Queen's Park Scottish Cup defeat and going back to Ibrox tomorrow. It would take something like that to create any sense of positivity amongst the Rangers support and to make sure there's a pretty healthy crowd. A lot of talk from people before this midweek that they were getting ready to pack in the season ticket or just certainly miss this game out. And I know it can get quite toxic at Ibrox and that could put people off if things aren't going well for Rangers. It can get quite toxic, but I think a lot of folks is quite happy to declare that they want to turn their back on Rangers. That's not how you support your club for me. It's Saturday, it's 3 o'clock, go and watch Rangers. But hopefully there's a bit more kind of optimism in the air tomorrow. Certainly plenty for us all to chat about. The chat just now is who we're going to have. John Souttar, of course, is injured. Be interested to see how Jack Butland gets on. I think his upturn in form is definitely due with having Souttar in front of him. John Souttar he's just not playing for any length of time, is it? Apparently it's not a long-term injury, but he's missing. He's not there tomorrow. Danilo is going to come back into the selection, so maybe he's going to be on the bench into the selection, said the manager today. Cortez is back training, but he's with the group, but he's a long way off. Balogun, Sterling, Conor Barron, of course, Nana, Casemiro, they're out. They won't be back. Some are on their way back. He's given a lot of respect to St Mirren, but basically saying they robbed us on Boxing Day. In the presser today, so that'll get them wound up. Maybe he wants that again. Maybe he just wants teams to come at us because we're best at hitting on the counter attack. Rangers need a performance. They need a performance in this game. They need to go out there and score a few goals. I hope it's 3 or 4. The big thing for me is defence. Normally, I was saying this to Brian in the Jersnet podcast earlier tonight. Normally, I would have Nsiala and Proper as my 2 picks from what's available tomorrow for centre half, but we Proper have got such a hard time in both games against St Mirren so far this season. I'm not sure if we should play him, but the alternatives aren't great. We're down to the bare bones. Maybe it's time to get Rafael Fernandez in there for a start. I don't know. I don't think that worked too well when he started against Queen's Park. So maybe the fella's traumatised. The young man is traumatised. We should get things operating a bit more smoothly on all fronts before he comes back in. But whoever we put out there tomorrow should be perfectly capable. If Danilo's available, obviously Igaman and Dessers are available. Bajrami, be interesting to see if he comes back in. Hadji's going to be around. It's about keeping everybody ticking over. They need to go out and do something. They need to maintain actually quite a good run. In 2025, we're putting 3 goals past everybody at home. Celtic, St Johnstone before half time against St Johnstone. 3-0 we beat Aberdeen. 4-0 we beat Ross County. Really pasting everybody, and with 2 straight away league wins. It's just that Queen's Park result has shattered everything. We're really psyched about beating Dundee United 3-1 at Tannadice, and yet, we only had the Scottish Cup to play for domestically at that point. We were as out of the league race then as we are tomorrow. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes. It'd be nice if Hibs could do something for us, do a wee change for Rangers, as we know all high bees would love to. Yeah, that's only 49 minutes. I did say, when I say I'm going to try and make it less than half an hour, what I really mean is less than an hour. So as far as I'm concerned, I've got 10 minutes left. I'll try and maybe finish what I was talking about in the previous pod, the pod I was doing about the American takeover, which, as I say, it'll be below this one on my homepage here on YouTube. I was talking about staying in Nashville last kind of March and April over in Tennessee, talking about leaving my Kagoo in the back of a Enterprise rent-a-car and how that's probably means something. That's the Europa League and this is America coming back to reward me for. I don't know what it is. Just any excuse to talk about Nashville. But the thing I meant to say was when we're in Nashville at the bottom of Broadway, when you got all the bars, all the honky tonks, all the bands up. It's an amazing street, absolutely phenomenal. Really quite a small place, Nashville. I think it's only about 100,000 more people in Nashville than there is in Glasgow. But my God, the sport, it's just, they go for it big time. I think the Tennessee Titans, which used to be at some point, I think the Houston Oilers, and they've got the Nissan Stadium, which they're going to get rid of. I think it holds about 70,000. I went to see this thing. You go on the wee bridge, and there's this big 70,000 capacity stadium just sitting over the water, and they don't like it. They can't be asked. But the Tennessee Titans moved it. They played at the Vanderbilt Arena before that. It's just typical American city stuff. They played at the Vanderbilt, which is the Vanderbilt University, which is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen in my life. It's like a brand spanking new Gothic building. Like the difference between the haves and the have-not, it's just writ large when we went down to Vanderbilt. Because you go down to the Vanderbilt University, and that's across from that is the Parthenon. They completely built a scale model of the completed Parthenon, and you go in there and you go inside it, and the big goddess is sitting. It's unbelievable. I remember seeing this on the television years ago. They did a complete life-size to scale model of the Parthenon before the Parthenon became a ruin, and that's why the Titans, Tennessee Titans, it's a reference to Greek mythology. Excuse me, sorry. But across from Vanderbilt, they've got the Vanderbilt Commodores. That's the college football team, and they've got like a 40,000. Their capacity's been reduced to 40-odd thousand. That's where the Titans played at first when that franchise moved to Nashville. I think it was the late 90s. The thing that got me when you open up the hotel we're in, we had a room up on the 5th floor or something like that. So you open up the curtains, you just look out over the city. And it's no massive, but it's brilliant. The city at night. And the thing that strikes you is this: it's the Bridgestone Arena, which is where they have the ice hockey. And they also have stampedes and stuff like that. All that kind of agricultural stuff. But it's the Bridgestone Arena changed its name from the Gaylord Arena. It was called the Gaylord Arena. This indoor arena. I think that was built around about 2000, and it's got a tribute to the Grand Ole Opry. The Ryman Auditorium was just across the way, the other side of Broadway at that point, and it's got this kind of old style antenna outside, which is a real, you can see it from everywhere. It's a real landmark. You can see it from, and it's kind of a country music style landmark in the sports arena. But they've got an NHL franchise as well in a city of 700,000 people. They're mostly all into the country music. And sorry, this isn't funny, but the NHL, the hockey team are called the Predators. So the Nashville Predators, that's the hockey team. I did find that quite funny. They were playing the Boston Bruins when we were over there, and I've never been to an NHL game. I'd been to see my cousin playing ice hockey, just like a juniors type game in Canada when I was there as a young man, and it was absolutely brutal. It's worse than the juniors. I mean juniors as in like junior fit, but it was guys who'd played professional and all that at the beginning, my cousin included, and just eventually didn't make it into pro ranks, and it's grown men playing ice hockey against each other, like Sunday League version of ice hockey. It's absolutely, they're just leathering each other. It's just fist fights that extended into the into the auditorium. Would you call it? when you come in the door, reception at the sports centre, it's the ice rink, and I'm waiting to get my lift back home, and they're punching 7 shades of shit. All these guys are like 7 foot tall and built like brick outhouses, all leathering each other on the ice and off it. It was absolutely insane. I loved it. But aye, that's I didn't go. We were there for the music. We were there to experience it. Nashville thing. I wasn't going to do my sports list ticking when I was there, but it was the Predators. They were playing the Boston Bruins. I remember being in one of the boozers on Boardwalk one night, and all the Bruins fans were coming in. So there's that Boston thing going on there as well. But it just brought it kind of home to me. They've also SC. Is it Nashville SC? They got an MLS franchise as well. I think they just built themselves a 30,000 capacity stadium. I think that's going to get used at the. If it's the World Cup or I think it's the Club World Cup next summer. Just threw this thing up. There you go. It's Nashville SC, state of the art, 30,000 all seater, totally enclosed stadium. Looks absolutely beautiful. But I didn't go along to that either. I was just all about going to see Dolly Parton at Dollywood. Well, no, not just going to see Dolly Parton's theme park. Didn't see Dolly herself. But it just kind of brought it home how they will just. I think the Titans got to the Super Bowl once. Then things kind of fell away, and they're just going to build them a new stadium because they're sick of that. And they just brought the franchise in the late 90s. They just do these. They just spend millions, billions, basically, on sport. And and quite rightly, the second it's not working, they just dump it. They just ditch it. Somebody else can have the franchise. We can go to another state somewhere. So that's the thing we've got now. That's the thing we're facing. If it is full scale kind of American interest, a la Bournemouth, a la Chelsea, a la Bournemouth, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Fenway Sports, and all that kind of stuff. It would be great. They really go for it. They don't mind. They will just rebuild Ibrox to it had 70,000, and then when they don't want to do it anymore, when they've done their bit, when they've got the money they want from it, they will just go and they will just leave us hanging. So we need to get, as I said in my previous word, we need to get what we can for the long term from this deal, if it happens, and even if it doesn't, it gives us all something to get really excited about tomorrow, because domestically there's not really that much to get excited about, but everybody now is playing for their place under the new regime, and the new regime at Fat Eck has given you your first sub 1 hour podcast in the space of about a year. Your post-match reaction pod, I'm going to see I'll get that down to like 49 minutes or something like that. It's just, this is the new regime, folks. Lean, mean Joe Green. Oh God, not Joe Green.